Hey there, it's Jim with Paddle Fire Outdoors, and today we're going to do a little bit of fishing, but before we get out on the water, I'm going to show you, do a little review of my Wilderness Systems Recon 120 and some of the DIY components I added to it. So this is my Recon 120. I shopped quite a few fishing kayaks before I purchased this one. My absolute number one priority was to have a kayak that had the ability to do a transom mount trolling motor, and Wilderness Systems, the kayak actually comes with the molded area here to mount their Wilderness Systems branded transom mount. And then I bought a Haswing 55-pound thrust trolling motor, which I've mounted. This thing is 4 years old, and it's still doing great. I will show you that there are some areas of some corrosion happening on the motor from the salt water after 4 years, but it's performing really great. So I guess I'm going to turn this into a double review. This motor cost me about, I don't know, $530 maybe. The transom mount, I want to say, was close to $100 maybe. I did have to replace it once in 4 years because it rusted out, but the motor itself runs great, and I have a full blog review of this on the website, so please take a look at that if you are looking for an inexpensive trolling motor that performs. And you know, the weight of the kayak, because I have a battery in the front compartment, Series 34, and the weight of the motor and all my gear, the kayak itself weighs about 95 pounds. All that together, this motor still gives me about 4 miles an hour. I'm not going to be racing anywhere or going terribly far, but it gets me to my fishing locations without any issue. So now let's take a look at the Recon itself. So what I love about this Recon is that it has the front compartment. It has watertight seals. It's kind of like a big trunk. And what I get to do is I get to mount my battery inside where it's protected from the weather. I don't have to have it outside on the deck. And gives me a place for storage for my dock rope and a bunch of other stuff. My battery charger, my Noco Genius battery charger. I'll probably do a review on that at some point because I have one of those not only on my kayak but on my pontoon as well. The kayak is incredibly stable. I can stand in it without issue. It doesn't wobble, which works great with the trolling motor because I can, with the remote, just kind of troll slowly and sight fish, snook and redfish, really any kind of fish. I also use it to bow fish from because it's a great standing platform when I'm taking aim. I'll show you some of the DIY stuff that I did to the boat. One of the things that you may have shopped is a anchor trolley. I don't like using the shallow water anchor because a lot of the water here, it's hard bottom, and it's hard to push the shallow water anchor into unless you get into a real soft sandy spot. And a lot of times I'm fishing grass flats and so forth, and it's sometimes can be a hard bottom. So what I opt for instead is this anchor system. So this is just a kayak anchor that I purchased. Weighs 2 kilograms. But what I did is, rather than just having it, these are also I installed separately. These cleats here, one on that side, one on that side, and I used to just use the anchor line alone and just switch sides depending on which side I wanted to anchor on. But I found that I had the need to be able to anchor either into the wind or away from the wind or current. So what I did is I rigged up this DIY system. So what I have is I have some rope tied to the front handle with one of these carabiners, and what I can do is I can hook the loop of the anchor to the carabiner and release it into the water, and what it does is it allows the kayak to float. If I want to be facing into the wind or into the current, it allows me to face that direction. So I have the same thing on the back. I have a cleat with the rope tied to it, carabiner which is clipped off temporarily, but I can always put the loop of the anchor onto the carabiner, release it out the back, and now I can be facing away from the current or away from the wind. So whichever way I want to go, it allows me to control the anchoring of my kayak. Now, the reason I didn't opt for a simple trolley system where you can, there's ropes along the side of the kayak which allow you to control where the anchor originates from, is because I have stuff on the side of the kayak here. I have my paddle mounted. I have, once I set it up, I have the this flips down, and this is a depth finder. My fish finder gets mounted up here. On the other side of the boat, I'm bringing fish up on that side, so I didn't want to have ropes running along the side of the kayak. So this actually works really great. I've tied off paracord so that when this piece of rope goes out into the water as it's anchoring, I can retrieve it by pulling on the paracord, both front and back. The other thing I installed on this was a battery indicator, which is incredibly helpful to let me know what battery life I have left. That helps when you're far from the dock and you want to make sure you can get back without having to paddle. I will tell you that this kayak is difficult to paddle. Number one, because the seat sits up so high, and number two, because of the weight. Like I said, with me on there, this thing probably weighs over 400 pounds, and it is difficult to paddle. And so if I can avoid that at all, that's what I would prefer. So I always monitor my battery, make sure that I can get back to the dock when it's time to come back. I keep this on a trailer because the weight of this thing is pretty heavy to move around, especially the front end with the battery. And so I try to avoid launching at a kayak launch. I try to hit the boat ramps. Once in a while, I do go to areas where they don't have a boat ramp available. I will launch at the kayak launch, but it is an effort to get the boat back on. Not so much on the trailer, but it is an effort to get it back onto the trolley. I don't have it here today, but I do have a Wilderness Systems heavy-duty trolley. That's the only one that would bear the weight of this when it's fully loaded, and I do use that to transport from where I take it off the trailer and where I enter the kayak launch. What else can I tell you about this? I have it rigged for 4 poles right now. I have a cooler in the back for when I catch something. One of the DIYs I put onto this motor, which is extremely helpful, is you can see that this motor, it pivots. I can tilt it up when I'm in shallow water. I can tilt it back down. But what I've had to do is I got these 2 dog leashes, red and blue. So the red is connected to the lever that actuates the tilting, and the blue is tied to the top of the motor so that I can use it to raise and lower the motor. I have those both tied off to my seat, so I don't have to get out of my seat or turn around terribly to go ahead and operate the trolling motor, which is really great, especially if you're trolling through like seagrass and there's grass on top of the water. The trolling motor does tend to pick that up pretty easily. I can just pull the motor up, give it a few shakes, clear it off with the paddle, and I'm good to go. So that's it for my Recon 120. I highly recommend this kayak. I love the size. As I said, I love the trunk and the storage in the front. It protects my battery. It's got lots of room in the back. It's got lots of room in the front. The only criticism I have about this is this was made to work with a pedal system, and I don't use a pedal system, so I wish that this bumped area here where the pedal system would normally go was flat, so that was a full flat platform. But it does work. I have a fishing backpack that I lay on top of there, and it does keep it up elevated out of the water that's on the platform, so in one way that is helpful. I know that the Recon 120s are advertised with a swivel 360 swivel seat. This one does not have a swivel seat. I don't mind it because I don't really need to spin all the way around when I'm fishing. I suppose it would be helpful if I didn't have the anchor system, because you know, if I couldn't control how I was anchoring the kayak, I might want to spin around and fish off the back of the kayak, but because of my anchoring system, that's not necessary. So that's going to be it for the review today of the Recon 120. You'll find this, it'll be up on YouTube, it'll be on my website, and I do have a full blog review of both the Recon 120 kayak and the Haswing trolling motor. So be sure to go and check that out. Now we're going to go do some fishing. All right. right, here we go.